Thank you, Erel Margalit, for joining me at a very dark time in Israel's history at the Media Line. Even before the Hamas war, there were indications that there were startups abandoning Israel, opting to move elsewhere. Compounded with the war, what is the fallout? How economically deadly will it be for Israel's startup nation?
Israel is a country that built its high-tech industry at time of strife. We built here the center in Jerusalem when the Second Intifada was going on, when suicide bombers were blowing up buses and cafes. Then there were difficult times in Gaza and Lebanon. It was 9/11 for people who've been in New York. And you need to understand that the Israeli high-tech industry was able to succeed out of the time of difficulty and the time of crisis and the time of strife. Israel's determined, A, to win the war. It's very important. It's an existential war against a deadly organization, Hamas, and we are unified. Israel understands that the real image of the victory is not only on the battlefield, but is the continuation of the high-tech industry, the innovation, the economy, and the creative society that Israel has, which it cherishes so much.
I spoke with you a few months ago, and you were unveiling all kinds of new projects, but there was also that sense of divide economically in terms of judicial reforms and so much happening here in the country, apropos what I just said. So what are you seeing that's happening on the ground right now? What has changed in terms of the war?
This is a crisis, but I think that what we do is we learn how to manage the economy and the country in crisis. You need to look after the welfare of the employees because many of them are recruited and some of them are affected or their family members. You need to make sure that the companies are financially sound with the CFOs, and you need to make sure that the international strategy of making 2023, 2024 goals, the companies are on it, and the people in Israel, together with the international employees of each and every one of the companies, are working together as a team to meet their goals despite of the difficulties.
Reservists are being called up. How is that impacting the different startup companies at the moment?
Of course it has an impact, but it also brings society together. After a long process where we marched for democracy, now the different parts of Israel are coming together to defend the country. Yes, I was leading cooperation with the Arab world. Yes, I was leading cooperation with moderate Palestinians here in Jerusalem and elsewhere. But at the same time that we're reaching our hand to moderate people in the Middle East, we need to fight the extremists. We need to understand that Hamas is like ISIS. Hamas is like Al-Qaeda after 9/11. You need to fight it with all your might. You don't negotiate with terrorists. You fight it, you beat them, and you open the next chapter. The Palestinians need a moderate set of leaders that will work on win-win strategy in the region, including cooperation. Israel is determined to wipe out Hamas. And it needs to be clear that the same forces who want cooperation in the region, the same forces who want a security alliance of the moderates, need to understand that there are extremists. Hamas is the representative of Iran in Gaza, Hezbollah is the representative of Iran in Lebanon, and Assad became the representative of Iran in Syria. The people on the fence near the Erez gate, together with me, we were working years ago about allowing 20,000 Palestinians and maybe more to come into Israel and to have a job. We were the people that they decided to slaughter are the people that were working for them. And so today, when we have to retaliate, we cannot negotiate with them. We have to go after them.
Erel Margalit is synonymous with high tech. 160 companies that you yourself began. What sectors are going to be hit hardest?
Yes, every company has a challenge today, but you need to understand a few things. One, cybersecurity is a big need after the Ukraine war, after this war, and it's a big need around the world, and Israel can provide it. Two, the AI systems that are needed in every walks of life, whether it's medicine, whether it's enterprise, whether it's the ability to have agriculture with AI, is needed more than ever before. So Israel is going to be suffering, yes. This war is a crisis, and it's also a crisis for the high-tech industry. But at the same time that we're coming together as a nation to fight the battle and to fight the war, we're going to be coming together as a nation to put the economy on our feet, to put the high-tech industry back on the international arena. And what we're doing today is we're making sure the international managers and those managers that have not been recruited and employees in each and every one of the companies are working double shift to make sure that these companies continue and that these companies thrive despite of the crisis.
There are companies in high tech that do well during war. Can you speak to those that are involved in defense, in AI, that are going to be strengthened and actually do well during this time?
Defense is one of these areas that needs an AI more than maybe any sector. Defense is one of these areas that needs cybersecurity. Defense is one of these areas that need computer vision and detection of different cases. So yes, there are companies who are selling also to defense organization, not just to civilian organization. And yes, these companies will be getting orders and are getting orders because it's needed in the battlefield, just like it was needed in Ukraine. It's needed now in Israel, and some companies are providing it.
Having served in the Israeli parliament, how do you see this war playing out?
Well, I think that the fog of war, as someone said, is not that easy. But Israel is acting with determination, with consensus. It brought together both sides of the house in order to stand behind the IDF and the need to retaliate in a major way. So there's a few principles that we need to understand. One, Israel will never be attacked again in the same manner. And if Hamas stays, we are staying vulnerable. People will not go to live back in the south with that kind of threat lingering over their head. So the Air Force is starting. The Air Force is targeting very specific targets. It's not targeting civilians. It's not targeting civilian facilities. It's targeting those terrorist infrastructure of Hamas that it's been building for years, underground, underneath the hospitals, underneath all these places which use the civilians in order to camouflage themselves. This time Israel says, we're not going to stop. We're going to urge the civilians to get out, to move south, but we need to address and take care of this infrastructure, and we need to address and take care of those terrorist heads that were orchestrating the attack together with Iran on Israel in the south. We need to confront them, and the country is standing together.
Will Israel be afforded the ability to complete its mission, or will the world pull it back?
Israel needs to complete its mission quickly and swiftly and pointedly and be focused. Criticism will probably come because people don't make a difference between the terrorist organization of Hamas and the legitimate right of the Palestinians. Many of us here in Israel fight for the legitimate right of moderate Palestinians that want coexistence with Israel. But these are the same Israelis that will fight with all their might against those that are coming up to kill us, to act in terror against us, and to cooperate with organizations and regimes like Iran, both in Lebanon, in Syria, and here in Gaza, where it's the most deadliest assault against Israel.
Erel, what went so wrong? Israel has some of the best technology in the world, and yet it took hours for the Israeli Defense Forces to come and help save the Israelis in those communities on the Gaza border.
In many places in history, if you read the history of war, lines of defense are often, penetrated. It was the Maginot Line in World War II. It was the Bar-Lev line on the Suez Canal. And now it was the line on the border. People feel that technology can be something that would protect them. And Israel made a mistake. The IDF made a mistake. It's the troops. It's the people. It's the readiness. And we have criticism around this government. The readiness in order to give the priorities to the defense forces to defend the southern border, the northern border, had to be there. We have criticism of the government, just like we had criticism in 1973 in the Yom Kippur War of Golda Meir. Now we have criticism of Netanyahu and his gang for having the wrong priority and not defending the country.
High tech was infiltrated.
High tech was infiltrated, and anybody who had, I'm from Golani Special Forces, anti-tank unit. We use technology in order to hunt the tanks of the enemy, but we also know that the human factor, being on the ground, being connected, being on the ground there is, you don't have a substitute for that. And in that respect, we made a mistake. We need to make up for it. We paid a high price for it, but now we need to retaliate. And I think you'll see the soldiers do their job. Because when the soldier came to the front, those soldiers from special forces that came to the kibbutzim, they saved people. When the people, the civilians that were protecting the kibbutzim, they were heroes, men, women, people that were heroes in order and heroic acts that took care of 3,000 Hamas militants that came into Israel. They retaliated. They didn't have enough backing, and now the army would do its job in Gaza. It's not going to be easy, but it's necessary.
Before the war, there was growing concern about friction brewing between Arab and Jew in Israel. What is civil society going to look like after this war?
I think that the kind of things we're doing here in Jerusalem, and every day we have Jews and Arabs working together in the high-tech industry. We have Jews and Arabs working together in our social projects. We have Jews and Arabs working together and coming to performing arts shows here in our theater. And that's going to continue, and that's important. And there are many Arabs which are disgusted with what Hamas has done, which are disgusted with the killing and the slaughtering of men, women, and children. And these people are speaking up. And there are many Jewish Israelis and Arab Israelis which are cooperating even in these difficult times. Yes, there are extremists who are trying to derail the situation, but many of us are determined to say this is the time to quiet things down. This is the time for quiet cooperation. This is the time to understand that we have a future here together, and we want to live together. We don't want to kill each other here. And yes, if Hamas is attacking us, we will retaliate in a big way. If Hezbollah will attack us tomorrow, we will retaliate in a big way. But here in Israel, we want to cooperate, we want to work together, and we want to see this society thrive after the war.
You have stated that there are Israeli Arabs that are coming out and being more vocal. Why is it that we aren't seeing more of them?
We see many Israeli Arabs speak up. We even see some of them speak up in the Knesset. We see some of the Arab Knesset members say that they want to be sort of the in-between in the negotiations for the hostage. So we are seeing Arab leaders around Israel step up for moderation, step up for coexistence, step up to work together and to be against the killers and those who slaughtered innocent people. We are seeing some tension as well. There's no doubt about it. These are two societies that can immediately go into tense situation in times. But I think it's up to people like ourselves, the leader of the high-tech industry, the leading of the education, the leaders of people in the defense forces that will say, we want to cooperate, we want to continue to live here. We are going to be against anybody who tried to kill us, the terrorist organization in the south. Perhaps we need to fight against the terrorist organization in the north. But please, stay calm and work together, because we have a country to live in together in the future. And let's make sure that the moderates stay connected while we fight against the extremists. Hamas needs to be fought against, and we need to move in and take them out.
Erel Margalit, thank you so much for joining us at the Media Line at this very difficult time.
Thank you, and let's hope that peace will come into this region after justice will be done.